Yes, sir. What's your name?
My name is Amin Ra.
Amin Ra. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. I had questions, I guess.
Are you from Egypt, by the way?
No.
Amin Ra? No? Okay.
No, the name is from there, but I'm Guyanese American. But
Okay.
I had questions about, I guess, how lawmaking and legislation do you believe should interact with the Christian belief? Because it says that there is one truth, the truth, as you stated earlier, and kind of with the ideas of, I guess.
Did I say there was no one truth? Is that what you said?
No, that there is one.
Oh, okay, thanks.
No, I paid attention.
Thought I blew it earlier. Yeah, go ahead.
But essentially, there is one truth and there is one good, and then ideally, as many people as possible would, follow that and do that to the best of their ability. But with the nature of free will, we know that there are people that won't do that. So I guess my question is, what about them when it comes to legislation? At least with this country, this is a country that is very diverse and a lot of people with different beliefs. Not everyone will subscribe to the same thing. And so that way, does it then make sense to ascribe laws based off of what is objectively good or what is objectively wrong? Or would it make sense to subscribe laws that account for even non-believers? Because what I found very interesting was that in respect to free will and the little that I've read the Bible, I'm very new to reading it, but the way that Jesus treated non-believers, he loved everybody the same. And so I find it interesting when there's attempts to pass laws in the name of Christianity when I guess that very clearly isn't fair towards everyone. But then I guess the question then becomes fair to what standard. So
okay,
I'm
yeah,
just curious on your thoughts.
Should people who don't believe in God still be expected to follow laws rooted in the Bible? That's the tough question asked in this Q&A session, where he challenges Frank Turek on the role of Christian morality in government. If the Bible teaches objective moral truth, does that mean society should base its laws on it, even for those who reject Christianity? Or should laws be neutral, accommodating diverse worldviews? Where do we draw the line between morality and personal freedom? This debate goes beyond religion. It's about justice, fairness, and the very foundation of our legal system. Can we separate faith from law, or is morality always tied to a higher standard? Join us as we break down this powerful exchange and explore one of the biggest cultural and theological questions of our time.
First of all, God created government.
Right.
And the purpose of government, according to both Genesis 9 and Romans 13, is to protect innocent people from evil.
Right.
Paul says that the ruler doesn't bear the sword for nothing. In other words, whoever's in charge is supposed to be able to punish innocent or punish guilty people who do evil to innocent people. And the purpose of government was never stated more clearly than James Madison, the founder of our Constitution, who said, if men were angels, no government would be necessary.
Right.
We need a government to protect innocent people from evil. Now, this does not mean that you need to legislate the Bible, but you are legislating principles consistent with the Bible. When we set up the United States of America, we did not set it up on the Bible, even though the early founding fathers quoted the Bible more than any other source. When Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, he quoted the moral law consistent with the Bible, the same moral law that Paul talks about in Romans chapter 2, the Gentiles don't have the law written on their hearts. And this moral law allows and secures rights for individual people, whether they're Christians or not, but it doesn't fall into one of the two ditches. The ditch on one side would be atheism, which means no one has rights. And the ditch on the other side is you have a specific religion that you want all people to adhere to, whether they believe it or not. Jefferson said, let's take the perfect in-between where we can ensure we have rights like a religious society does, but not have the religious intolerance that we'd have if we came from England, where you had to be a member of the Church of England. So Jefferson picked the perfect moral law government. So when we go into the voting booth, every citizen has the right to vote the way they want to vote, whether they get their morality from God, whether they get it from the Bible, whether they get it from the Quran, wherever they get. And we elect representatives to go to Washington or our state and local governments to represent us. And we don't want to establish a theocracy where we require people to be of a certain religion, But we want to ensure that our rights are grounded in God, and no matter who is elected next, if we have a strong constitution, those rights are going to continue to be protected.
Right.
So Christians have to be involved, because I don't know why Christians think they ought not be involved in politics. Are only atheists qualified to run the country? I don't understand where that comes from, okay? And the separation of church and state has nothing to do with it. First of all, it's not in the Constitution. And secondly, we're not trying to legislate religion. We're trying to legislate morality, and that's what everyone's trying to do. Everyone's trying to impose a moral position. The only question is, where are you getting this morality from? And I don't want to legislate my morality or your morality. I want to legislate the morality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess you mentioned balancing being a very important thing. I also find that interesting because, you know, one of the very fundamental ideas is that it's impossible for any Christian to live up to the standard as Jesus. We're sinners. We sinned yesterday. We're going to sin tomorrow. Sin a bunch today. So I guess to what degree do we take this morality? Because I feel like there's a level to where obviously there are things we do every day that would qualify as sin that aren't illegal, right?
Right. You can't. None of us want a nanny state.
Yeah.
If you want a nanny state, then go to Saudi Arabia or go to Iran and get Sharia law. Does anyone want that? No. Okay. Just because something is sinful doesn't mean it means to be illegal. Right. It is sinful to lie to somebody knowingly, but it doesn't mean it's illegal unless it's under perjury or something like that, right? If you're under oath. So, sure, there are things we do all the time that may be sinful but aren't illegal. However, sometimes we can go the other way and have too much freedom where innocent people are getting hurt, and that's where you need to put a law in place. All right?
Okay. Yeah,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The question posed by Amun-Ra raises an important discussion about Christian morality, lawmaking, and religious freedom in a diverse society. Should laws be based on biblical morality, or should they be written in a way that accommodates people of all beliefs? This question is not just philosophical, it's one of the most pressing issues in modern political and cultural debates. At the core of this discussion is the idea of our moral objectivity. If morality is objective, meaning that right and wrong exist independently of human opinions, then laws must be built on an absolute moral standard. As Christians, we believe that God is the ultimate source of morality, Romans 2:15, and his laws reflect what is truly just and good. However, Christianity does not teach theocratic rule, nor does it demand that all biblical laws be enforced by secular governments. Jesus himself separated God's kingdom from earthly government, saying, "My kingdom is not of this world," John 18:36. The purpose of civil government, according to Romans 13:1-7, is to promote justice, protect the innocent, and punish evildoers, not to enforce every aspect of religious law. Where do we draw the line? One of Amun-Ra's key concerns was whether enforcing biblical morality and law violates free will. While Christians believe that all sin is wrong, not all sin should be illegal. For example, what murder and theft, kanan, are both sinful and legally punishable, but pride and greed, while sinful, are not crimes. This distinction is important. As Frank Turek explained, laws exist to protect people from harm, not to enforce personal religious beliefs. This is why the U.S. Constitution is based on Judeo-Christian moral values, but does not establish Christianity as the national religion. Founding fathers like James Madison and Thomas Jefferson argued that rights come from God, as stated in the Declaration of Independence, but they also warned against religious coercion. Many argue that Christians should stay out of politics, but this ignores the biblical mandate to seek justice and righteousness. Micah 6:8. In his book, Politics According to the Bible, Wayne Grudem argues that Christians have a duty to influence society in ways that promote human flourishing. Similarly, Francis Schaeffer, in A Christian Manifesto, warns that secularism erodes moral foundations when Christians disengage from culture. That said, Christian engagement should not mean forcing faith upon others. Instead, we should promote laws that uphold human dignity, protect freedoms, and align with moral truth. while respecting the free will of non-believers. Amun-Ra's question highlights a real tension between the faith and politics. While our biblical principles should influence lawmaking, Christians must also ensure that laws protect the rights of all citizens, not just believers. The goal is not to establish a theocracy, but to promote justice in a way that reflects God's moral order while respecting human free will. For a deeper dive into these issues, check out books like Politics According to the Bible, Wayne Grudem, A Christian Manifesto, Francis Schaeffer, The Case for Christian Nationalism, Stephen Wolfe for a controversial perspective. Check the description for more details on these books.